They had never seen anything like it. A female grizzly bear, one of the most powerful animals in North America, was being suffocated by something foreign to her world. A massive python had coiled around her with deadly force. Rangers rushed to help, but the moment that truly stunned everyone wasn't what they saw, it was what the male grizzly did next. Because in that moment, far from the safety of any den, instinct gave way to something deeper. Something rarely acknowledged in the wild: loyalty, courage, and a kind of love that doesn't need words. Before we begin, subscribe to the channel, hit like, and turn on notifications, because what you're about to hear will challenge everything you thought you knew about wild animals and the silent bonds they carry. That morning, the western edge of Yellowstone was quiet. Spring was fading into summer. Elk grazed in the valleys, hawks circled above, and rivers swelled with snowmelt. Ranger Tyler Nash had been on patrol since dawn, sipping lukewarm coffee, when the radio crackled. Strange movement near Flat Ridge Pass. Possible injured animal. Maybe a moose or something bigger. 10 minutes later, Tyler's truck screeched to a halt on a narrow two-lane road. The sight before him made his chest seize. A young female grizzly sprawled across the asphalt, not resting, but trapped. Her limbs twitched weakly beneath the crushing coils of a giant snake, a python, nearly 20 feet long, thick as a fence post. Its body wrapped tightly around her midsection, squeezing the life from her. Tyler froze. The bear gasped. He dropped his coffee, grabbed a staff from the truck bed, and called for backup. Female grizzly in distress. Not alone, it's a python. Repeat, large python attacking native wildlife. He approached, heart pounding. The snake turned its head and hissed. The bear locked eyes with him. Then the forest behind him erupted. A roar split the silence. Tyler spun around as a full-grown male grizzly burst through the trees, massive, wild, and charging straight for the snake. Tyler braced himself, but the bear didn't come for him. He came for her. The male slammed into the python, snarling, biting, striking with paws like hammers. The snake tightened its grip, trying to crush faster, but the bear was relentless. Blood smeared his fur, but he didn't back down. Then other rangers arrived. Tyler shouted, "Help him! Don't hurt the bears! Distract the snake?" They spread out, one firing a shot into the air, another jabbing at the python's tail. The snake thrashed, then loosened. The female collapsed, free at last, but the male didn't retreat. He stood over her, muscles tight, eyes fixed on the python slithering away into the brush. He didn't run. He didn't hide. He stayed like a sentinel. The forest held its breath. Tyler whispered, "That bear just saved her life." And the way he remained by her side as humans circled in, it said more than any sound ever could. This wasn't just survival. This was devotion, and the story was just beginning. The wounded female lay still, chest rising in shallow bursts. Her fur was soaked with sweat, dust, and blood. Deep bruises darkened her ribs beneath the fur, evidence of how close she'd come to death. Tyler crouched low. Around him, 3 other rangers moved carefully, voices low, glancing between the bears and the trees. But the male bear kept their full attention. Towering, breath heavy, muzzle stained, not with his blood, but the python's, his eyes tracked their every move. Not hostile, protective, daring them to overstep. "We've got to help her," Ranger Marissa whispered. Tyler nodded. "Just don't want to get mauled trying." The male hadn't moved since the snake fled. He circled her slowly, nudging her snout, releasing low, ancient-sounding grunts. Then something shifted. The female whimpered softly. The male paused, then stepped back, just 2 steps. But it was enough. Enough to say, "I'll let you try, but I'm watching." Tyler raised his hand slowly. "All right, girl," he murmured, like speaking to a hurt dog. "We're going to help." The team moved together. Towels, gloves, a field stretcher. Marissa administered a mild sedative, just enough to ease her pain. The male huffed but held his ground. Tyler could feel his gaze searing into his back. As they wrapped the bear's midsection, the damage became clear. Cracked ribs, puncture wounds, deep abrasions, but she was breathing. "She's going to make it," Marissa whispered as she tightened the final strap. Carefully, they lifted her into the ranger vehicle. Then the male bear exhaled loudly, a sound filled with frustration and sorrow, and then he followed. Step by heavy step, he trailed the stretcher to the truck and sat beside it. When they tried to close the tailgate, he stood placing both front paws on the back like a passenger. "Is he trying to come with her?" one ranger asked. Tyler swallowed. "I think he is." Silence followed. If they drove off, would he chase? Would he become aggressive? Or worse, would he vanish, believing they'd stolen her forever? Tyler made the call. "Let's give them the flatbed. It's open." "He can." "Stay with her." With trembling hands, they shifted the female onto the larger supply truck. The male climbed up behind her. As they laid her down and added padding, he curled around her, a wall of fur and muscle. No one spoke. They drove in. Silence, the road jostling nerves and hearts. And the entire way to the rescue center, the male didn't flinch. He didn't growl or pace. He simply watched her breathe. And stayed. It was pure, impossible trust. By the time they reached the gates of the wildlife center, the bear's bond had already told its own story. But what happened next would change. Even more, the center on the park's edge had seen injured eagles, moose calves, and even wounded mountain lions. But this two full-grown grizzlies, one hurt, the other refusing to leave, was beyond anything in the handbook. Dr. Evelyn Hart, lead vet, met them at the gate, clipboard in hand. Her eyes widened as the male leapt from the flatbed and stood guard while they lowered the female. "He followed her?" she asked. "Did more than that," Tyler replied. "He saved her life." Evelyn's glance swept over the wounded bear. "She's critical. We need to get her inside." "Can you hold him back?" Tyler shook his head. "We tried." "He won't leave her." The team wheeled the stretcher toward the barn. The male followed, tense but calm. He kept his distance, yet never lost sight of her. Inside, machines beeped and lights buzzed. The bear was sedated and stabilized, IVs, monitors, fluids. Torn muscles, cracked ribs, internal bleeding. But no lung punctures. She had a chance. In the next room, the team prepped a holding space. But when they tried to close the door between the bears, the male let out a thunderous sound. Not anger. Not rage. Grief. It rattled every human in earshot. They opened the door. He walked in. He didn't interfere. Didn't touch. Just lay beside. Her gurney, massive head resting on his paws, eyes on her face. Evelyn whispered, stunned, "I've never seen this." It's like he knows she's still in danger, and he's waiting. The ranger slipped out quietly. That night, the male didn't sleep. Each time her monitor beeped louder or her breath caught, he stood to watch. At 2 a.m., Evelyn returned to check vitals, expecting a wild, stressed bear. Instead, she found him calm, watching her. He didn't move as she adjusted equipment. When she touched the female's paw, he lowered his head again, as if to say, "You're helping, that's enough." By dawn, the team had already begun calling them by names. Ember, the female. Aj, the male. Names that felt ancient, fitting, as if their bond had been forged in fire. Ember stirred just after sunrise. She groaned, shifted her paw, and blinked. Ash sat up instantly, alert, watching, waiting. Rachel spoke softly into her radio. They found each other. From that moment on, Ash and Ember were never apart. But something had changed. Ash no longer walked beside her. He walked slightly behind, always watching, always letting her lead. "They've shifted," Evelyn said days later as she reviewed trail footage. "She's healed, now he protects from a distance." But the forest wasn't safe. As the cold deepened, desperation grew among the animals, and worse rumors of poachers started circulating again. Rangers intensified patrols, especially near old trap lines. Then one morning, a snare was discovered. It was rusted, ancient, but stained with blood. Nearby, a shredded radio collar. Panic spread through the center. Ash or Ember? Drones launched. Rangers fanned out. Tyler headed into the western woods alone, where the pair had last been tracked. Hours passed before a faint signal broke through static one collar still transmitting. It was Ember. She was found pacing near a ravine, anxious but unharmed. Her eyes darted constantly to the tree line. Tyler followed her gaze and then heard a groan, ragged, low. He pushed through the underbrush. There lay Ash, collapsed in the dirt, a snare buried deep in his foreleg, cutting through skin and muscle. The ground was stained crimson. Ash tried to rise, growling, but dropped again. His eyes met Tyler's, wild in pain but unmistakably. Aware, he knew him. Behind them, Ember circled like a sentry close but letting them work. Tyler knelt beside him and whispered, "We've got you, buddy. Hang on." Once again, Ash found himself depending on humans. And once again, he chose trust. The rescue was quiet, no drama. Just rustling leaves, hurried footsteps, the soft thud of wheels against dirt. Ash, sedated, lay bundled in a blanket in the ranger truck's bed. Ember followed. All the way to the road's edge, then she stopped. As if she knew they'd take care of what she couldn't, back at the wildlife center, everyone moved in silence. Ash wasn't just another bear anymore. He represented something more, something sacred. A bond that defied logic and defied nature. But the damage was severe. The snare had crushed tissue, torn tendon, left a wound that gaped even under pressure. Evelyn stood over the table, hands trembling as she cleaned around the injury. "I don't know if he'll ever walk right again," she admitted quietly. Tyler didn't flinch. "He will. If anyone can recover, it's him." They worked in shifts. Hours blurred. The team flushed the wound, stitched where they could, bandaged the rest. Ash never resisted. Even sedated, his body seemed to understand this pain meant hope. When he finally stirred, blinking against the light, the room froze. Ash looked. Around, eyes glazed but calm. He didn't panic. He didn't growl. He exhaled and laid his head back down. That was all the staff needed. A week passed. Then Ash stood. His steps were uneven. One paw dragged, but he moved. And more importantly, he wanted to. Ember, housed nearby, was kept from direct contact to protect the healing wound. But every morning she waited by the fence. When they rolled Ash out in a crate for air, she sat nearby, humming soft, low sounds. They didn't need to touch to feel close. One day, Ash stumbled and groaned. Ember answered with a steady chuff. Ash tried again. Every inch he gained for her. After 3 weeks, he walked without support. The limp remained, it always would. "He'll never run like before," Evelyn said, watching him from the porch. "But he's strong. And more than that, he has something to move for." That something stood beside him when the final gate opened. Back in the forest, rangers released the pair into a clearing untouched by roads or traps, raw. Wild, silent, Tyler lingered a moment, watching. "Take care of her," he said softly. "She took care of you." Ash didn't look back. Together they walked into the tree side by side. Not as survivors, not as symbols, but as something simpler and more profound, family. Weeks passed. Then a hiker spotted them near the lake, still close, still together. Later, a drone caught a fleeting image from above. Ember rested in the sun, her body relaxed in a meadow. Ash stood nearby, still scarred, still stiff, but alert. His eyes sharp, watching, guarding, loving. If this story touched you, consider subscribing to the channel, leave a like, and share it with someone who believes real love needs no words. Because the strongest bonds are born in silence, tested through fire, and healed through unwavering loyalty.